The arena fell silent when the human dropped his weapon. Commander Vexara of the Crithian Imperial Guard watched from the observation deck, her 3 hearts beating in patterns she had never felt before. Below, on the blood-stained sand of the gladiatorial pit, the human called Marcus stood with empty hands while a Gorvan war beast circled him, 8 feet of armored fury and razor claws that had killed 17 champions in as many days. He should have been terrified. Every species in the galaxy knew terror when facing a Gorvan. Their empire had been built on that terror, on the primal fear their warriors inspired. But Marcus simply rolled his shoulders, cracked his neck, and smiled. Not the smile of madness, the smile of someone who had made a choice. Vexara leaned forward. She had studied humans for 3 cycles, ever since her fleet had encountered their colony ship drifting near the Helix Nebula. Refugees from a dying world called Earth, they had said. Survivors of a war that had consumed their home. She had taken them in, given them sanctuary within Crithian space, watched them build new lives with grateful humility. She thought she understood them. She had been catastrophically wrong. The Gorvan lunged. 400 pounds of muscle and hatred, claws extended to tear flesh from bone. Marcus moved. Not away, into it. He dropped low, impossibly low, and drove his shoulder into the beast's chest as it leaped. The impact echoed through the arena like a thunderclap. The Gorvan's momentum became its enemy, and Marcus used it, twisted with it, sent the creature tumbling across the sand in a spray of dust and confusion. The crowd erupted. Dozens of species, hundreds of voices, all screaming in languages Vexara barely heard. Her eyes never left the human. He was bleeding now, 3 gashes across his ribs where the claws had found him. He should have collapsed. Blood loss alone would cripple most warriors. But he pressed his hand to the wounds, looked at his own blood like it was nothing more than inconvenient, and turned to face the Gorvan again. "What are you?" she thought. "What have we sheltered among us?" The Gorvan was wary now. It circled slower, intelligence flickering behind those predator eyes. It had never met prey that fought back like this, never faced something that refused to die. Marcus mirrored its movement, bare feet on blood-soaked sand, hands open and ready. He was speaking. Vexara enhanced her audio feed and heard him, heard the words he whispered to himself like a prayer or a promise. Not today. Not ever again. Then the beast charged again, and Marcus let it come. He waited until the last possible heartbeat, until those jaws were close enough to taste his death, and then he moved with speed that seemed to violate physics itself. He caught the Gorvan's head between his hands, fingers finding gaps in the armor plating, and he twisted. The sound was like branches breaking in a storm. The Gorvan's roar became a whimper, then silence. It collapsed at his feet, neck broken, eyes still wide with shock that something so small could be so impossibly strong. Marcus stood over the fallen beast, chest heaving, blood running down his side, and he raised his empty hands to the sky, not in triumph, in defiance, in a declaration that echoed from Earth across the stars. "Humanity does not kneel," Vexara's aide whispered beside her. "Commander, the human... He killed a Gorvan war beast with his bare hands. The probability was irrelevant," Vexara said, and her voice carried a weight she had never felt before. Something ancient and primal stirred in her, something that her species had forgotten in 10,000 years of civilization and order. Recognition, not of weakness to be protected, but of strength to be claimed. She descended to the arena floor, her guards flanking her, but she waved them back when they moved to restrain Marcus. He turned to face her, swaying slightly, his human blood painting patterns in the sand. His eyes met hers, and she saw it. The thing that made humans different. It wasn't their strength, though they were strong. It wasn't their speed, though they were fast. It was the absolute refusal to surrender that burned in every cell of their being, the certainty that they would fight until their last breath and beyond if they could find a way. "Why?" she asked him. "You could have kept your weapon. You could have fought with honor and lost without shame. Why face death with nothing but your hands?" Marcus smiled again, and blood stained his teeth. "Because where I come from, honor isn't about following rules. It's about showing the universe what you're made of when everything is taken from you. They took our world. They took our home. They took everything we built across 1,000 generations. He raised his scarred, bloodied hands. These are all I came into this world with. These are all I need to make a new one. Vexara felt something shift inside her, something that her rigid military training had never prepared her for. She had commanded fleets, conquered systems, brought order to chaos across a dozen sectors. She had thought herself beyond such base reactions. But watching this human, this magnificent creature of will and fury and unbreakable determination, she felt herself drawn like a moon to a planet's gravity. She spoke words in her own tongue, words that her aide's translator stumbled over because they were archaic, from a time when Crithians were warriors and not administrators. Krevtar nashtu velkar. Then in human standard, I claim you as my battle companion. I claim your strength as my shield. I claim your fire as my weapon, her guards gasped. The crowd fell silent. Such words had not been spoken in 3,000 years. But Marcus, bleeding and swaying and utterly unbroken, understood. He understood perfectly. He nodded once, slowly, and extended his bloodied hand. Then you better hold on tight, Commander, he said, because humans don't do anything halfway. Vexara took his hand, felt the warmth of his blood and the calloused strength of his grip, and knew that she had just changed the course of history. Not just hers, not just his, but the destiny of every species that would learn what it meant when a human was claimed rather than sheltered, when their strength was honored rather than feared. That night, as physicians tended to Marcus's wounds and political advisors scrambled to understand the implications of her declaration, Vexara stood on her ship's observation deck and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth dying or dead, but its children survived. And now one of them was hers. She whispered it again, letting the words become truth in the speaking. I want him to be mine. And across the ship, in the medical bay, Marcus smiled through the pain and whispered his own truth to the darkness. They have no idea what they just unleashed. In the Crithian language, there is an old saying, forgotten until that day when Vexara spoke words 3 millennia old. Never claim a human unless you're ready for the universe to change. The universe was about to learn why.